We're
Okay.
lionsmaneextracts.com. And we just crossed 50K a month, all from Facebook right now. But I'm terrified to launch new ads because my last 4 got disapproved for unsafe substances. So I think they're categorizing us as like psilocybin mushrooms, which is not the case. You can buy Lion's Mane at the grocery store. So yeah, I'm pretty scared to launch new ads because all of our income's coming through Facebook. And I guess I'm just wondering, what would be the safest move? Like, I'm considering doing most of new ad testing in another account, or just
it's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Couple things. We've worked with a brand called Fresh Cap Mushrooms. I'd suggest, okay, so you know Fresh Cap, you might be familiar with Tony. He crushes it on YouTube, like organic, he just crushes. Millions and millions of views organically. Another thing, I like the idea of using a separate ad account. From a messaging and a compliance perspective, I don't know if Blake hasn't joined yet, but like anybody who's doing biz ops stuff, basically like we are, that's how you guys have gotten in here, right? Like, you know, we've got to be careful with compliance with regards to claims, guarantees. We try to be super transparent. I shouldn't say we try, we aim to be super transparent. No tricks, no false claims or anything like that. I think the best way that I could advise you from a messaging perspective, and this would really go for anyone, indirect messaging is your friend. We run a lot of offers and traffic in the health and wellness / like, for lack of better description, weight loss space. Hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. Indirect messaging here, like, is going to be your best friend. So have two sides, have a look at your ad copy, number one. Number two, have a look at your landers for where there might be some compliance potential issues and where you could work the messaging to be direct so that it is less, maybe less claimy. Second thing you could do is send a Loom request into the Loom request channel in Slack. Either Paul or myself can get you direct feedback on your lander and or as well on your ad copy. And that goes for anybody at any time. You know, ask for copy critiques, ask for messaging and creative critiques in the Loom request channel. I realized I haven't been doing a good enough job of promoting the fact that we will literally review your creative. So feel free to pop that in the Loom request. If you are super like you want to make sure that you're separating things, I don't mind the idea at all of using a separate ad account. And maybe even using a separate Facebook page where you can go have a little bit more of a sandbox, because there is a bit of Facebook banning pages and accounts right now with all of the changes that are happening within the platform. So you don't want to have like a double whammy against yourself for sure. So I think that is a good idea as well. Indirect messaging though.
Awesome. So that's kind of like reverse of what I was watching in your video, where you want to hit the most aware segment. You're saying for this specific case, go down the pyramid a bit and
I would still go with most aware and solution, promise, offer driven messaging, which is going to be your highest intent. But I'll give you a hook that I share with a lot of people that we use quite a bit in the weight loss space. Don't steal this because I will see your ads, whoever is on this call. And I have to give Alfie credit on our team for coming up with this. Is this the fastest way to go from 175 to 155? No weight loss claim whatsoever, indirect, right? So I'm still speaking to the most aware individual who wants to lose weight, but I'm not saying, hey, you're going to lose 20 pounds, or hey, do you want to weigh 145? Like, that's going to violate the personal attributes policy, right? So indirect messaging, and also very straightforward messaging, like a hook that we just launched for all of this stuff. Some of you guys are probably seeing the new ads. This creative testing method plus Hyros equals 8 million in profit. No claim, like no promise, no guarantee, facts, right? Like screenshot as proof. That's a real account that we're running, by the way. And so like especially in the biz ops sort of space, like there's some guys in here doing like some sales stuff, like Blake, like us, we're doing like marketing, ads, sales oriented stuff. You've got to be more straightforward, and less about like, hey, you can get this result. Do you want to make $1 million? Right? Like, don't say that. Like that would be bad. So hopefully that can share some insight for you, for everybody as well.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely. Anything else from anyone on the call at the moment that they'd love some insight on? If not, we'll jam. Feel free to pop anything. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, you said about the $1 million thing, then say like, hey, you don't want to make, could you call saying, say, for example, like the $1 million ad formula, is that indirect enough?
Yeah. So you could say something like, I made $1 million with this ad framework.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
No claim. Like, like not like anything from the perspective of like, hey, Harry can do it too. Or like, hey, Harry, do you want to make $1 million like with this ad secret weapon? Like, would not recommend running that. I'll be straight up. Like, I had an old ad account banned, like, I don't know, probably I don't remember, maybe 2-3 years ago at this point, like where like we were towing the line, and had to spin up new, William Perry Facebook page, new ad account, the whole deal, just from towing the line too much around the guarantee. I think we literally had written a headline like, increase ROAS guaranteed, or like something like that. And, sure enough, like within a couple hours, that shit was banned. So anyways, but yeah, good question. Feel free for anybody, feel free to pop any other questions into the chat. As we're going through today, we're going to dive into attribution tools and how to best use them to optimize your account. Today, I'm going to walk through Wicked Reports, AnyTrack, and Hyros. We're using all three of those. Straight transparency, personally have not used Triple Whale to optimize any ad accounts. We have a bunch of members in this program, and like Done With You clients and stuff that we consult and coach that are using it. Personally, like we don't have it on any of our agency client accounts, but yeah, definitely looking forward to digging into this one with you guys. And I'm sure that it's going to spark a lot of questions. Happy to answer any one of them as best as I can. The other thing I'm going to share with you guys are, I've got some notes on my side, some key differences that I notice and that we see between the different softwares, and it will change the way that you are managing ads pending the software that you are using. So I'll touch on some of that as well. But really what I'm going to do is just kind of like a little demo style walkthrough. Another thing I'm just going to be straightforward and transparent with you about, the client that we have on the agency side with AnyTrack, we do have an NDA. So I have a screenshot. I have the account name sort of blacked out, but I have an overview of the dashboard, and we can kind of, you'll be able to see enough to be able to get an idea if you're not familiar with AnyTrack. And then we'll dive into Wicked Reports, and we'll dive directly into Hyros, as well. Does anybody have any questions about third-party attribution tools? Or actually what I'd love to do, we've got 17 people on the call right now. How many, if you could just say like thumbs up or yes, preferably everyone, how many of you are actually using an attribution software right now with managing ads? That would be super helpful to know, actually. Okay. ClickMagic. Haven't used ClickMagic, to be honest, but I'm familiar. Red Track, Triple Whale. Okay, cool. So we've got some Triple Whales. Demoed Hyros. Okay, cool. Is anybody not, and maybe the better question is anybody not using attribution tool right now with their ads at the moment?
I'm not using, actually.
Cam's not. I knew Mehdi, you weren't yet. So, and I know that you're looking at some stuff. So this will be good for you specifically as well, so you can kind of compare. And I'll give you, okay, cool, Aaron, same thing. Okay, so there are a
Actually,
couple. So
I
go ahead,
was
sorry.
wondering if there is a big difference between offline conversion with Zapier and the Facebook reporting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, which is why I'm not a huge fan of Wicked reports either, and we'll dive into that. A lot of the reason why to use Zapier is like an in-between before somebody's ready to actually put up the $300, you know, to get the attribution tool. Like Zapier has been a stopgap in order to get Facebook what it needs, which is the conversion, so that we can optimize as effectively as possible. And then it forces the demand for then getting an attribution tool. So we'll definitely share. So Eli's on the call as well. They've done a custom backend reporting. I actually really like the way that they've done that. I've worked in a couple different scenarios where we've done some custom build outs with UTMs and like Google, why can't I think of it? What is it? What the heck? Eli, what the heck is the name of the Google Data Studio? Yeah, perfect. That's what I was trying to think of. You're a little bit developed, like Eli's team is pretty adept, but if you're reliant on a developer, it's the main reason I don't like a custom solution, is like marketers can't speak dev to make sure that stuff's pulling properly. That's the only reason I'm not a big fan of a custom solution. For more like tech able teams like Eli's team, like their actual reporting is pretty dope. I actually like it a lot. All right, sweet. So I will share some differences and things that I've seen between the platforms as well, for some of you that are weighing which one to use. So the one that I'm going to start with first is the easiest one, which is going to be AnyTrack. So all of these third-party attribution tools basically work off of UTMs. So you've got to make sure, first things first, that your UTMs with the actual ad parameter for the software specifically are in every ad. Reason for that is if you have ads that don't have the UTM, the tracking software is not going to pick it up, and it will put it into an untracked revenue category or an untracked sort of conversion category. Second thing to that is you'll also see, like, ever since, you know, like iOS happened in May of 2021, it really became sort of an attribution issue more than anything else, because Facebook lost the ability of being able to put conversions into the appropriate bucket. And what it also did was it then showed how much overlap there was basically between like Google reported conversions and Facebook reported conversions. And secondly, what it is, or thirdly, I guess, I lost count. What it has also done is, like, for you guys who use Google Analytics to sort of analyze channel performance, revenue, etc., a whole heck of a lot more sales were then being reported into the indirect, none, or direct, or organic categories, right? Because Facebook just couldn't track it. And so simply you're going to start to see CPA rising in that ad account because Facebook could not track those conversions. And you're also eliminating the overlap that was happening when email was driving sales, but Facebook was picking up the tracked conversions in your ad account. Or SMS was driving sales and Facebook was picking up conversions in your ad account. An attribution tool will get rid of those overlaps in reported conversions. Mostly, it's not perfect, of course, but it'll mostly get rid of that overlap so that, you know, I have SMS campaign, person clicks from SMS, buys product, or person clicks from Facebook ad, buys product. But in the past, there was all this messiness with regards to attribution because there was no singular source of truth, right? Like, attribution tool brings singular source of truth. And that is what has fucked a lot of people up. Like we've had to do a lot of consulting on retraining our own eyes in what we're seeing like we've had done with you clients, agency clients, like agencies, specifically ad buyers, in-house marketers, etc., where like we've literally had to change the way that they think about their data. And I'll touch on that more when we look at wicked reports, because that's the one that's going to screw with you the most. So with AnyTrack, for example, you know, you've got campaign, ad set, and ad level data. The most important thing, or I should say, like one difference with AnyTrack, it is the most affordable. AnyTrack definitely comes in at a little bit of a lower price point when you compare it versus, say, Triple Whale, Wicked Reports, or Hyros. It is, I would say it's more of an entry point or entry level sort of software. How I would say it is like, I'd rather you have AnyTrack than nothing at all. So if like Mehdi or maybe Aaron, who said they're not, or Cam even, they're not using something yet, if you're like, hey, I'm just not ready to put up the $300-400 a month yet for Wicked, Triple Whale, or Hyros, like, then let's get AnyTrack and let's start really solving this problem. Then you could always migrate later. When you're like, okay, I understand this now. I understand how important it is actually to invest into this. Let me go to one of the better solutions. And that's how I would look at AnyTrack. My biggest sort of gripe, I would say, is like, it's probably the least accurate of the ones that we have tested. But again, like, I'd rather you have something than nothing. It's better than having Zapier, and it's better than not having anything coming into the, or I'm sorry, it's better than just simply relying on Facebook conversion API only, which is still going to lead to, you know, a lot of issues with tracked conversions. Pretty simple dashboard here overall. You've got, you know, your campaigns, you've got your ad sets, you've got your ads. One of the things that I don't like about AnyTrack is it's hard to separate by source. Everything's sort of done by campaign. So it makes it a little bit more difficult to optimize your campaign specifically, especially if you're a very campaign heavy account. But like I said, you get direct, you know, click into sales sort of, you know, monitoring, which is what you guys need, right? So the numbers here don't really matter, but you can see like these Google campaigns, tracked purchases, leads, you know, your ROAS, your revenue, your traffic, obviously. This is a lead gen account. So it's kind of judged a little bit differently with how this is being used specifically to AnyTrack or with AnyTrack. We also use some additional custom reporting with this. But if anybody hasn't seen AnyTrack, it's a pretty basic tool. Like I said, you just got to make sure that the standard UTM, which there's an SOP on standard UTMs in Masterclass, so you guys can use that, or if you have the SOP guide, you can copy it. And then you need to append the UTM with the tracking parameter that AnyTrack has you use. The other really most important thing about all attribution tools, once you add UTMs to your ads, you have to add UTMs everywhere. Emails, SMS, any way that you are driving traffic, you have to use UTMs for all of your other sources, or you will have discrepancies in your reporting, or simply like untracked revenue. And I'll show you an example where we run traffic for pretty big brand. They do a ton of stuff organically. Actually, I've got a couple of those, and it just completely fucks with the tracking and attribution. There's a lot of untracked revenue because of it. So we've had to continue to make sure that we're using UTMs for everything so that we're not actually missing out on reported conversions from our ads, which is what you'll see probably the most, is that you will miss out on reported conversions. So your actual CPA, your ROAS might look worse even with a third-party tool than what it actually is. And that's because of like the untracked, you know, conversion from the click itself. So this is just a quick little overview of AnyTrack. It's pretty straightforward. With any of these softwares, you're mostly going to have a last click into a sale or a lead. Whereas in the past, Facebook had a 28-day window of conversion. Now it's 7 days. And so you're getting less data in your ad account. You're getting a shorter sales cycle. So if somebody was buying, like we have someone in the group, Anna, her average sales cycle is 18 days. When she's optimizing her ads, she's looking at it in a 1 or 3 day window. She's actually turning off ads that will generate sales for her anywhere from 13 to 18 days from now, depending on how you're looking at it, right? And it's because she has to retrain the way that she looks at her ads based on her sales cycle. And that's one of the most important things here is like, if you have a longer sales cycle, attribution is going to affect the way that you actually literally turn off and turn ads on. So it's really important, and all of you will have a little bit of a different situation when it comes to that. And it really takes understanding the user journey and how you're then managing your ads. For most of you, it's going to be a 1 to 7 day window, especially for like impulse purchase type products or lead gen. You're not going to really have any issues there, but for high ticket stuff, longer sales cycles sometimes. And that's going to lead to, you know, you possibly turning ads off that are actually generating leads and sales for you. So this is AnyTrack. Any questions on AnyTrack real quick in particular? And then we'll have a look at Wicked and Hyros specifically. And then I'll sort of tie it all together basically on how to use them, like how to use it day to day, which is probably the most important part. Any questions? If not, totally okay. I did see Zemba dropped a question in the chat, so I'll read that real quick. Since none of these report back to Facebook, is that a huge problem? I just started using Triple Whale. I'm very happy with my tracking, but not seeing the numbers on Facebook dashboard, thinking my pixel is still not very effective. But the question is, do I really need it to be? You guys also don't get your data reported back to Facebook, right? So good question, actually. I still use Zapier to push offline conversions back to the ad account purely for the sake of getting as many conversions to the ad account as possible, because the pixel optimizes based on conversions. I use, and how we teach it and how we do it as a team as well, I use Facebook as a way to look at my soft stats, CPM, CPC, CTR, how are my creative tests running, sort of like a setup dashboard. And then we use the attribution tool, AnyTrack, Wicked reports, custom solutions, etc., to make ad day one ad buying decisions based on actual clicks to sales. So two different things, right? I'm looking at Hyros for my actual true attribution. I'm making the decision from my attribution and bringing that decision back to the ad account. I'm then using the ad account with the offline conversions just to get Facebook as much data as possible so that Facebook can optimize on my behalf. Then I'm judging my creative on the front end, CPM, CPC, CTR in platform, and I'm going back again to Triple Whale, to Wicked, to AnyTrack in order to make those decisions directly. Cool. So that's good, Zemba. Glad that answers that question. Cam also added, are the majority of these third-party attribution platforms connected to the major advertising email platforms, or do some of these have much more integrations than others? Yeah, most of them are pretty much connected with all of the major players. They kind of have to be in order to compete. Triple Whale, for example, only works with Shopify though. So like if you have clients or if your brand is on WooCommerce, ClickFunnels, anything else, you're going to need like probably an AnyTrack or a Wicked Reports or a Hyros, because Triple Whale is for Shopify, basically brands only. And that's probably one of the most specific sort of differences between the major four, would be that. So yeah, good question, Cam. Personally, I have not run into any limitations tech stack wise. The major limitation that I've probably run into is a custom e-com tech stack, because then again, we're dependent upon developers to make sure that all the tracking parameters are correctly, installed in the actual tech stack, and then it can become a little bit of a nightmare. David said we are on WooCommerce, and they use Segmetrics. Yeah, so like you'll have to consider, a different solution if your tech stack is a bit more customized. If anybody has any specific like tech stack related type questions too, like we can definitely follow up in Slack on some of that as well, because there might be something different that I would recommend based on your individualized situation. All right, sweet. Let's have a look at Wicked Reports. So we're gonna have a look at a brand called Truly Free. It's a brand that we've run traffic for about 2 years. Bear with me as this loads because Wicked's a little bit slow. The one thing that I will say is like, I've probably had the most issues with actual tracking with Wicked Reports specifically. So much that we have a separate 7-day tracking spreadsheet to kind of like, we have to, with Wicked Reports, we've actually found that we need to make decisions away from Wicked Reports if that seems about right. So like, I'll give you an example. So this is like a 7-day trailing KPI sheet. So what we do is we actually take the reported CAC from each channel, and then we create a custom blended CAC, because I'll tell you on this account in particular, our actual in-platform Facebook CPA is about $40. Based on Wicked Reports, last week it was 118. That is a massive discrepancy, right? The target for this brand is a $50 CPA. We've basically averaged, other than like right now, we're kind of more in scaling mode. So we're kind of like, we've lost ROAS a little bit, but like we're working on dialing it back in. It's the biggest issue that we've had is number one, if you're using Wicked Reports, you have to give credit to the fact that your reported conversions are going to be about 12 to 24 hours delayed. So if it is, what is today's date? August 31st. If you're looking at your ad account right now, and you're looking at Wicked Reports right now, you will not get today's conversions until tomorrow. So that is going to change the way that you make decisions in your ad account right now. Because if you're like, hey, this CPA is high or this ROAS is low, just wait 24 hours. Which is why that part is super important. That's just how Wicked Reports works. It doesn't upload the conversions until the following day. And it kind of also functions like Zapier. Wicked Reports will pump the ad account with all of the offline conversions, and there is for sure discrepancy and overlap between email, SMS, etc. This brand in particular, 8-figure brand, they do a ton of stuff with affiliates, influencers. Tracking has been a nightmare on this account for 2 years since day one. It's also a custom tech stack, right? So like they work off of sticky.io, if anybody's familiar, or if anybody uses sticky.io as their backend CRM. Nightmare. The actual data sort of like ability to pull reports super hard. But anyways, like you'll see like CAC here for Facebook based on Wicked Reports is 118. So the way that we manage this ad account is we want to show downward trends on a 7-day period just based on actual reported data. So I'll give you kind of just like a look back on a different week. So here's like where Facebook CAC was like 99. I've got weeks where it was at 88. And so now the only thing I have to do to get this CPA back to this 40 to 45 range is I just have to show decline on my reported CAC. Like this is not what the actual CAC is. We have another student in the program right now, Erwin. So Erwin, if you watch this later, this will make sense to you. Obviously $88 is way too high, right? Like my target is $50, but I'm still hitting my target with a Facebook CAC of $88. And it's because when you implement last click attribution, when you're running multiple channels, you're going to see how much Facebook is fueling your other sources, which is exactly what's happening on this account in particular. is that once you implement a last click attribution model, it will steal reported conversions away from Facebook and give them to Google, just as a simple sort of like, that's how it's going to be. So like I have Facebook ad says, you know, get this truly free, all natural, like non-toxic detergent. Female 35 plus goes to Facebook. Oh, how do I find this like truly free, all natural detergent? Facebook doesn't get credit for that sale when she clicks from Google, when you're using Wicked reports. Super important, right? But we all know Facebook drove the intent of the traffic to the sale. So the only thing I need to show is a decline from 88 to 78 while I'm working through my phase 2 creative testing in order to bring my KPIs up, right? And so the biggest thing with Wicked reports, oh, fantastic. All right, cool. The biggest thing with Wicked reports, it's basically the same, guys. Like the in-platform dashboard, you're going to see your campaigns, you're going to see your ad sets, you're going to see your ads, you're going to see your revenue, you're going to see your sales. The biggest thing is like, to me, how the conversions are reported back and then how you are actually making decisions. Personally, I've had the most issues with Wicked reports because I've had to implement this additional sort of tracking spreadsheet tracking capability. Because if I only relied on those offline conversions being pumped back to Wicked reports, I'd be making decisions based on the $40 CPA in platform that I shared with you guys, right? Like it's not accurate. It's not what it is. So here's just like, you know, you've got it separated by channel. This is one of the reasons why, like, I would say, like, I like Wicked reports over AnyTrack because then I can get channel by channel sort of performance. You know, you can see revenues like by channel. Obviously, you can see conversions by channel, everything that you'd want to see. But what we've had to do is we've had to come up with an additional way to validate the data so that I can stick to KPI when I'm managing this account. Last 2 weeks, it's been a little bit wonky. In that election cycle of like August 4th to about August 20th, we saw some pretty like crazy things like on this account. You'll see we were kind of averaging around like a 1.3 ROAS, which is actually pretty good here. And then we kind of lost it a little bit here in early August, started kind of gain it back here a little bit and bringing that back. But so that's what I would sort of point out about Wicked reports. You know, you've got your ability to, basically look at campaign level data. You've got your ability to look at ad set level data, you know, so like here's Facebook, for example, same thing that you basically just saw, you know, with AnyTrack, right? Phase 4, phase 2, phase 1, lead gen, all the things that we're teaching you guys with regards to how to effectively manage ads now in order to bring those results up. The biggest thing, like I said, the main takeaway is that if you are using Wicked reports, which I know some of our members are, keep in mind that you will want to make the decision tomorrow, not today, right? Because if I'm running ads right now, I'm not going to see those ads in Wicked reports that led to conversions until tomorrow. Wicked reports uploads that data from your CRM after midnight each day. So you have to have some patience with how you're actually judging your ads and turning on and off ads. So that's a little bit of a nuance when you're using Wicked, is you have to be a little bit more patient with how you're looking at your accounts. And secondly, as well, you have to keep in mind, okay, Facebook's driving the majority of my traffic. I'll actually use the example of Erwin. Like Erwin was in Done With You coaching. We just finished up like a week or so ago. His target MER was 2.3. So I set up when Erwin came into this program, he's like, Will, like my ads suck. Facebook doesn't like what I'm doing. Like CPA's rising. What do I do? Right. So I was like, okay, are you hitting your target? He's like, no, I'm not hitting my target. Facebook's rising significantly. So I went and created this custom spreadsheet for him, right? I literally backtracked it 120 days all the way back to April of 2022. I mapped out tracked sales, orders, spend, revenue, etc. And I set up his MER target each week for like, what is that? 16, 20 straight weeks. Erwin was blown away that he had been actually hitting his target the whole time. Almost the whole entire time. He maybe had like 1 or 2 weeks where he actually wasn't hitting his target MER of 2.3. Erwin's a good dude, so I'm not like calling him out necessarily. It's actually a really good example, and he would be more than happy that I share it. Erwin was turning off ads that were winning ads. Why? Because he was looking at Wicked reports, and Wicked was saying, hey, Erwin, your CPA is $100. Erwin's like, I need it to be 60. Erwin turns off ads. Sales decline. Erwin continues to launch creative tests, creative testing roller coaster. Process continues, right? Can't get a winning ad. They die so fast. Like so many of you have basically mentioned the same exact thing to me. Why? Because Erwin's CAC for last click attribution for Facebook is actually $100, not $60. And his blended CAC for Google, I think it was like 20. So when the 80 or when the 100 and the 20 average out, it averages out directly at 60, which is what he needs it to be. So he was making incorrect, ill-informed decisions based on the old way that Facebook used to report his CPA into his account. But now Facebook is driving so much top of funnel traffic that it's leading to an increase in Google reported sales. And his CPA was $60 basically all along. He basically averaged anywhere between like even a 2.0 to a 2.5 MER, but he was so close to actually hitting his target that like his sales declined at points of like literally 200%. And it's just because he needed to shift the way that he was looking at his last click reported CPA for Facebook and actually give himself a higher threshold or more room to make those decisions from. So what he found out was $100 CPA on Wicked reports for my account is actually a winning ad. So he was like, dude, I've turned off so many winning ads. I was like, I know, like it sucks, but like we can go back to them, right? And that's what's important about Wicked reports is you have to take that last click or linear sort of model of how the actual conversion is being attributed. I wish I could come up with a better word. Like I kind of like to just call it, put it in the bucket. Like, did Wicked put it in this bucket or this bucket? The conversion still happened, but then we just have to shift our target. Like I'm still hitting my target if I raise my CPA preference from 60 to 100. I'm actually still hitting my target. It's just that the conversion was moved from this bucket to this bucket. Is that making sense? Is that making sense? I'm just going to look for some head nods or some questions or anything like that. Okay, cool. I'm just going to jump into the questions here real quick. Aaron asked, last click and what you were talking about with attribution by channel is specific to Wicked? No, not necessarily. This would be also specific to Hyros as well. The big takeaway with Wicked is that your reported conversions are going to be delayed about 24 hours. And I've just had a lot of support calls where like Wicked can't answer questions about why offline conversions are so off from like actual conversions. So to me, I haven't trusted the reporting as much, which is why we've come up with, you know, like these custom spreadsheets and stuff. Second question, have you used Wicked with other accounts and still see similar issues and need for additional spreadsheets and tracking? Yes, we have. Yeah, for sure. The case of Erwin, for example, right? Like he was you know, a done with you, like you, Aaron, as well. And we've worked on it with other accounts, and we've actually migrated a few brands off of Wicked for that reason. But the biggest thing is when you're looking at a last click attribution model, it's important to look at your data in a holistic way. Holistic way means I'm driving Google traffic, I'm driving Facebook traffic, I'm driving TikTok traffic. If your target CPA is 50, you know, and you spent 10,000 on each platform, you spent 30,000 and you generated 90,000, your ROAS is still a 3x, right? Even though, you know, maybe Facebook CPA is 100 and Google is 50 and TikTok is 20. Those numbers don't add up directly. I'm just giving you guys a random example. As long as you're still hitting your target, who cares what the actual in-platform CPA is? You have to understand that we're getting all of our traffic to work together and we're judging it based on a unbiased source of truth, which is super important, because then you're not going to kill a bunch of stuff that like is actually working for you. How do you, David asked, how do you track that cross-channel attribution, pathway attribution in Google Analytics? I actually started all of this with Google Analytics about like 2-ish years ago. And I used to create custom Google Analytics reports based on UTMs, but like Google Analytics is still going to push so much stuff into that organic and direct channel that it's still going to mess up your reporting. That's the only reason I don't like Google Analytics, is because Google is still dependent upon picking up that UTM in order to effectively track your conversions and your sales and, you know, your revenue, your ROAS, your conversion value, etc. You know, so that's super important. It's not going to take into consideration all of the conversions and where they've come from. There's some differing opinions on that. I've tried setting this stuff up with Google Analytics and just have found that we're missing a ton of Facebook reported conversions. When like, especially if Facebook's driving like 80% of your traffic, like still a lot of you are, you're just not going to see that in your Google Analytics reporting. So that's just what we have found. Cool. Any questions on Wicked specifically? Can keep this up here for, you know, another minute or so if anybody wants to see. But I mean, basically, you know, you've got your phase 4, you know, campaigns. These are your scaling campaigns with the 4-phase structure. You know, you've got, in this scenario, these have got, this is scaling option number 3. You've got multiple winning ads in best audiences. You've also got single ad scaling right here, you know, where you've got individual winning ads to best audiences at budgets. You know, you'll see like this ad is spent $9,500, for example. We're running some whitelisted stuff right now. So like we work a lot with content creators to run ads through. We're actually having a lot of success right now with target ROAS on some accounts. So we've started testing out target ROAS bidding strategy in this account in particular. And you'll see this bid of 1.1 is where the ad delivery is actually fed out the most, whereas some of the other bids, I think we just launched this in this account like maybe within the last few days. So it hasn't really, we haven't really gotten it to spend the way that we've wanted it to. But look at all these red, this is actually, I didn't point this out. Look at all these red numbers, right? So if you're looking at this account, you're like, yo, Will, you're doing a shitty job managing this account. This client could not be happier. Like, we're scaling so significantly, and it's because I'm hitting the target, right? Like, it's a couple bucks over and like we're optimizing it, but a few bucks over in CPA is not bad. But we've also run this account for like 2 years, right? So like, this has probably been the worst week that we've ever had. And that was when that election cycle of ads hit and a bunch of stuff got wonky there for that 7-day period. But like, I'm hitting the target, but like Wicked Reports is like, no, your ads suck, right? So that's why context matters with how you're judging your campaigns and how you're judging and using a last click attribution model. It's super important. Cool. So yeah, you know, you've got, you know, your ad set level data, your ad level data on your ads in Facebook Ads Manager. You're just adding the Wicked Reports parameter to the end of your standard UTM, you know, within your actual ad setup. What's super important is that, like, actually, let me jump back to mission control report. So like, you'll see, you know, these guys, you can kind of see like some other channels and stuff. See how much they drive in other revenue. Affiliate, 347 grand, like pre-Wicked, 462, TF marketing. Like, this is going to mess with your attribution so much if you don't have UTMs on literally everything that you're running, right? Because in the past, we would see so much of this affiliate stuff bleed over into the ad account. So just straight up, like we were making decisions probably based on reported conversions in Facebook Ads Manager that were actually coming because of affiliates. Because when you use view through attribution in your ad set levels in the platform, you're going to pick up conversions that had actually been triggered from an affiliate or an influencer or something, unless you're using UTMs all across the board. And that's been one of the biggest issues that we've had on this account, is that because traffic comes from so many different places, we see a lot of bleed in tracked conversions in general. So for any of you guys who are running bigger brands, you're going to have that more commonly. Like you'll see 353,000 website visits in the last 30 days. Like it's a lot of traffic. Cool. Any questions specifically about Wicked? Like the part that I'm going to save for the end is like how to use this. Like, how am I using this day to day? Last one that we'll go through is cool. I already have one pulled up. Is Hyros. As you guys know, this is my personal preference. I don't hide the fact that I'm an affiliate. I also started on Hyros in about 2019, so I've been using it the longest of all of them. It's the one that I personally have the most experience with. Kind of works basically in the same way. So I'll just pull like a last 30 days. Here you go. I'll actually just pull an entire report. So this is like lifetime since we've had this on this account. So the report that I pulled is what's called scientific. Wicked Reports and Hyros have two similar reporting models. Number one, Wicked Reports calls it what do they call it? Why can't I think of it at the moment? Not linear. Why can't I think of it? Basically, like it takes into account the origin of where the ad came from. The name is mistaking me. Hyros calls that scientific. Wicked calls it something else. And then both Hyros and Wicked Reports can report based on last click attribution specifically. Scientific is just going to give a little bit more credit to Facebook and the impact that it has on the entirety of revenue, sales, conversions, etc. So you'll kind of see the same thing, that you saw in Wicked. You've got, your channel data. Facebook and Google are the two main drivers of traffic for this brand. Our target all along has been a 2x ROAS. You'll see how high the ROAS is on Google. When we first took over this account in January of 2021, in platform ROAS for Facebook used to be like $25. Or I'm sorry, $25, 2.5. And once we implemented last click attribution model, it basically took conversions from Facebook, moved them to Google, and we're still hitting KPI, right? So I actually had to change my target CPA from about 100 in Facebook platform to about 140 so that I could still hit KPI. Right now, these guys are actually doing a lot of like CRO and conversion rate optimization. So we're seeing our CAC rise a bit. But ROAS is coming up because AOV is coming up. Aaron mentioned, is Hyros the only one of these that has the in-platform overlays? Yes, it is. That is personally my preference as to why I like to use it, because I can make ad level decisions in platform with my data directly overlaid on top of my campaign. And I'll show you guys what that looks like if we get to it. Same structure though, right? Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. The creative testing method that we teach you guys. Basically like everything is being pulled here from the UTM. So I'll kind of give you an idea of what that looks like. So you'll see like the naming conventions that we teach you guys here as well. So this sale came in, let me see what the timestamp is on this. Probably like a few minutes ago. What time is it? 10:53. 5:20. So this is actually really cool. You can actually see the entire journey of the individual, right? So like look at all of these pathways that this person had to take before they were buying, right? They bought back in May. Then they just bought like multiple times again. They bought in, what is that, June, I guess? June, they bought in July. And then they just bought like, I don't know, an hour ago. And this is one of the biggest things that I like, is being able to see into the user journey. So I can actually see how many clicks it took before this person bought. You'll also be able to see like, okay, let's actually look at this one. Where did they convert from? So you'll see this person came from Google Organic, but look, they originally were triggered most recently before they bought here. They bought from a branded ad campaign, right? So you'll actually be able to see like, okay, so I ran Facebook ad. They didn't click the Facebook ad. They then went to Google. They searched in Google Shopping or brand search, picked them up, and then they bought. So you'll actually be able to see how Facebook assisted the conversion into the user journey. That's one of the things that I really like about Hyros. And then the second thing that Aaron highlighted was that you can use the Chrome extension to actually look at your actual, let me jump back to the reporting. You can actually use the Chrome extension to look at the ad level data directly back into the campaign. So if I open up, this phase 3 audience testing, for example, and I've got this ad 1094, I can actually have this data through the Chrome extension directly in my ad account. And this ad is actually performing pretty well at a 1.69 with that pocket theory, testing approach that we've shared with you guys. So, so that's one of the differences that I like, is that the speed of being able to optimize my ads, and all this data is live. So once someone clicks and buys, I have no delay in having to wait, which we do with Wicked, because Wicked uploads the conversions back to the ad account the next day. So it's that reporting is delayed, and it's not live. Hyros is live. Looks like I got a couple questions in the chat. How often there you go. So how often does data get synced? Right away, So that timestamp, David, you'll see that, basically right here in the sales. So this lady, Allison Horrocks, bought like 45 minutes ago. So give it a minute. This is going to be pretty live, right here. Basically when she bought, it'll fire directly into your reporting that quickly. And then you can obviously make day of decisions in the ad account. Hopefully that answers your question. Cam asked, personally, I would prefer a roll-up view of customer journeys based on averages or highest paths to purchase. Do they provide that type of view? The macro view is great also. Cam, would you be willing to unmute and elaborate or dive into that a little bit more for us?
Totally. When I demoed Triple Whale yesterday, they had a really cool report that took kind of like all the major purchases data and showed like kind of like the behavior flow average of what sources and averages that they use to click to get to a purchase in like an overview. The macro is great to look at every individual level. I didn't know if they had like a bird eye view of it as well.
Yeah, there's so many different like reports that you can do, like with LTV, reports and cohort analysis and things. Like would have to dig into like how to leverage each individual tool specifically, like with reporting. Because even like with Wicked, you've got some of that stuff with Wicked as well, where you can get like different, levels of reporting based on what you're looking for. One of the things that I do like about Triple Whale is they have a creative report, which is pretty cool. Hyros did just implement that pretty recently as well. That's one of the things that AnyTrack and Wicked Reports does not have, is they don't have the creative reporting capability. And as long as all of you guys are using like the creative ID, naming convention, process that we've shared with you guys, it's going to make it super easy in Triple Whale or Hyros to be able to ad 10001 drove 10,000 in sales and had a 3x return or whatever. That's why that creative ID piece is so important, because then you can get that individualized like ROI data based on it. Nico said Hyros is the best. Cam also, oh, there you go. I guess you just popped that into the channel. Yeah, we also do, we also create like custom creative reports for our clients as well, basically just pulling everything by the creative ID. So we've kind of always done it that way also. But as long as you've got the creative ID in place, you can pull the data however you want, whether you're using like Hyros or Triple Whale, or even if you're using it in platform and then cross-referencing it or something like that. So yeah, everything here pretty straightforward. How these attribution tools work is they use the UTM from your ad, which means the actual click data. That UTM loads in the URL bar in in your browser. If that person has an ad blocker on, no matter which attribution tool you are using, that will create tracked conversion issues. And that's where you'll see it, for example, like in the in like no traffic source. See how there's like 226 grand and no traffic source? Could be because people have ad blockers on, in their actual web browser and stuff, and it's going to be hard to sort of work around that. So they use UTM, IP address, email, and then that click level data in order to match up the actual true conversion. That's mostly how all of these tools work. Wicked Reports says that they sort of use like more CRM data, like with order IDs and stuff, but hard for us to sort of verify that as marketers without knowing the tech. Yeah, I would say the biggest competitive advantage right now that Hyros has is that Chrome extension, overlay to be able to make in-platform day of live decisions. To be honest, really, like all these softwares are actually pretty close in price. Like Wicked, Triple Whale, and Hyros are roughly all around the same price. People definitely are a little hesitant to invest that like $300 to $400 into attribution tools. My thing is like, guys, you're losing way more than $300 to $400 in revenue by not having this implemented into the way that you're buying ads every day. So if you want to be more cost conscious, go with AnyTrack. You guys obviously know like my personal preference to use, but like I'd rather you guys using something than nothing. And I'm happy, of course, to like answer any specific questions that you guys have today, or as follow-ups in Slack as well, because everybody's got a little bit of a different situation, maybe a different tech stack, maybe a specific scenario that might lead to how you might want to change the way that you're making ad buying decisions. Zemba asked, are these profits including COGS? Basically, I was wondering if Hyros is able to include COGS as well. This is just going to be gross profit, Zemba, so not including like cost of goods. So yeah, good question. All of the, any sort of like reporting tool is pretty much going to have that. Hopefully you guys have like I have this one sheet, which I don't think I've actually ever given to you guys. I call it the sales forecasting formula, where you could then pull your ad level profitability and then add your cost of goods in there as well to create a true, like a true ROAS. So if anybody's interested in that, I could share that with you guys. It's really like more of a CFO level view into profitability from ads. So yeah,
definitely want that.
Who was that?
Me, Luke.
Luke, for sure. Yeah, I think it might be hidden in the dossier. Like I've probably turned off some of the tabs and stuff. But I can, if you can remind me as well, Luke, like maybe just shoot me a DM and I can get that over to you.
For sure.
Yeah, does anybody else have any other questions about, let me just kind of tie the summary all here together. The one thing that is super important, no matter which tool you are using, and this would be your main takeaway. If you're going to implement a third-party attribution tool, you must stick to making decisions from that one source of truth. Don't jump back and forth of like, oh, today the ad looks good in Facebook and tomorrow the ad looks good in Wicked Reports. Like, no, can't do that. Like, make the decision from the same source of truth every time so that you can show those declines in CPA AKA increasing ROAS, right? And it's kind of like that example where I showed with you guys the spreadsheet where, you know, Facebook CAC is 118, but I know that if I move it from 118 to 110, my profitability is going up. But I'm continuing to make the decisions based on Wicked Reports data. So that's the only thing that matters, is that you constantly make the turn on, turn off decision from the same place every day and not change the place that you're making decisions from. And then define the way that you're going to make decisions, right? That is super important. And then get your clients or your in-house, you know, brand, you know, team to be on the same page of that as well. This is how we're going to judge our ads. And then as you continue to do that, and you're like, okay, last week CPA was 50. We're judging the ads this way. This week CPA is 40. Cool. Like, we're showing progress. Like, the only thing that matters is the way that you guys are tracking progress, right? That's super important. And so I wanted to share that as a main takeaway. AnyTrack, Wicked, Hyros, Triple Whale, doesn't matter. You've just got to make decisions from Triple Whale, Hyros, Wicked Reports, or AnyTrack every time. And that's what's most important with that stuff. So I'm happy to stick around, you know, to answer any more questions, or if anyone wants to follow up in Slack as well, definitely can do that. If you want to fire anything into the chat or unmute, feel free to hop in there and get some feedback from the group or myself, if anybody has anything.
I actually have a question, Will.
Okay.
I'm Zemba.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, so these were very nice information you could share with us. I'd like to thank for it for first.
Absolutely.
And the second thing besides from these, I just joined you guys like 10 days ago, I believe, and I just had the chance to first time meeting.
Awesome.
And then I started using your methods. They're very effective. I have my own brand.
Yeah.
I was before iOS, I made like $1,300,000 in like 5 months.
Okay.
And then, but after iOS, I got very much screwed, and because I was using only one creative to scale up. I started using your methods, and before I was using it like I was stuck to like 1K per day. After implementing your four method, like four phase thing, I scaled up to like 6K days very quickly.
Let's fucking go.
Like it was
Love
like
to hear it.
10 days, in 10 days.
Nice.
But my question is, after doing everything, they kind of started dying out. Like I think like everything message reporting is like very important, and then I realized how much info I was missing with my ads. I was kind of using Facebook like a magic tool, but now I feel the power of I am managing everything myself, and it's so powerful understanding these concepts. Oh my god, it's so good. But I'm just a little bit stuck on how to scale part actually. But also, if I can share my screen, I have taken your methods a little bit further, if it's possible.
Yeah, let's do actually,
share
if you could shoot a Loom video and share that
Okay.
in the Loom request channel, and we can definitely have a look at that.
Yeah, I was just going to show you like a one screenshot anyways, but
all right, let's do it. Why not? I'm sure everyone else is curious to see it. And I'm just going to put this out there. I did not pay Zemba to say any of those things. Like that is like the best freaking testimonial right there. Like that's
so
what I
happy.
want. Yeah, that's great. I love to hear it. You're not the only one. So that's good.
So let me try to share actually. Okay.
Nico said he's on the edge of his seat. That's hilarious.
Okay,
Here, I can turn this off as well. Yeah, you should be good to go.
I think you guys are seeing it, right?
Yep.
Okay, so what I did here is like instead of making like 4 steps, it's a little bit looking more complicated.
Okay.
It's like a 8-step thing kind of thing. And like as you said, like I have the creative, and this is like look like my interest, but it's actually my angle.
Okay.
I have more of these angles, And for each angle, I am creating I'm testing the creatives, and once something works, I get into the ad copy, and then headline, thumbnail, and then actually I put like a headline overlays as you're mentioning, and then I put them
Yep.
into different interests like broad, lookalike things. And also one of the best things I did was landing page. Also for every ad creative that works for me, I am basically taking that, and then I'm using gem pages on Shopify. And then for every thing that works for me, I try like 5 different headlines with gem pages at the same time, so that it resonates better with the audience. And then I also take that landing page to the scale campaign as well.
Perfect.
But like, I'm understanding all of these concepts very well. I am really working hard, but I'm just not understanding like why my ads are going like dying so fast.
Yeah.
And although I am making like in 10 days, I have tested like maybe 40 ad copies, around 30 headlines, and
Yeah.
then like a lot of thumbnails. I'm mixing and matching everything, but I have so many ads created, and then like so many of them die in 2 to 3 days. I get them to my scale campaigns with ABOs like 100 to 150. I open them, but like after 2 3 days it dies. I just couldn't find a way to make them alive.
Yeah, one thing that could be happening there, and this could be happening with anybody, is well, question would be, what is your definition of a winning ad?
Okay, yeah, that would be a very nice question. I make it like a winning after first of all, I give my testing $60 spent, and then rather than, as you're saying, like click traffic campaign, all of my tests I make them with the purchases. And so I give them like a $60 budget for purchase conversion campaign. My average order value is around like $120. This is like a musical instrument, and I'm saying to people like, this is going to take away all your stress away, and that's the angle. And then like for $60, if it makes a sale the first day 2 times, I take it into my scale campaign. If
Yeah.
it's making only one sale, I'm giving it one more day. And in the first day, if it doesn't make any sale, or even if it makes sale, but like, let's say my average order cost per click is like $1, but if it's like $3 and it still got one sale, I just kill it, because like $3 CPC is too much high for me.
Yeah, biggest thing there is that you're scaling winning ads that haven't been purely validated yet. So I actually, there's a training on this in masterclass, and I'm not sure if you got the SOP guide or not, but the definition of a winning ad is 10 conversions. So you're scaling those ads too quickly, and you haven't given them enough time through the validation phase. I actually really like your early kill points. I usually recommend like a 2x CPC kill point, you know, within half to 1x CPA. So for you, once you spend $30 and if CPC is $3, kill it. Like, I love that. But you're scaling those ads too quickly, and they might not be winning ads. And so what you might need to do is just have a little more patience with your creative testing. This would be a great area to actually send that loom on to Paul in the loom request channel to get some feedback on your kill points specifically.
Okay.
So,
And I was going to mention one more thing.
Yep.
Let's say I create this is how my structure goes. Let's say I have something winning for me, like the criteria I just mentioned in the step 0, and then I first let's say it's spent $60 and got 2 sales. I first take that creative into my scale and also into my ad copy section, so that I try more ad copies with it. And then let's say I try 10 ad copies with it, and I give them $60 for all of them. And then the top 3, I take them into first scale, and then also I take them into headline. And then I just change the headlines and so on and so forth. So I have like 300 ad creatives like in a couple of days. But maybe I'm doing everything just too quickly.
Yeah, you are going fast, and testament to you there. One of the other issues there overall is that one of the methodologies that we teach, and this is for everybody as well, sticking to the winning ad formula and secondarily ad variable isolation. So you're not creating controls within your actual testing process day to day because you're changing too many variables.
Oh, no,
And so,
no. Actually,
ahead.
let me tell it.
Okay.
In ad copy, let's say I have my Excel sheet report here. Every day I'm taking a note from it. So in my Excel sheet, I actually go into, let's say I tried first ad copy and I only change ad copy in my ad copy campaign. I don't
Mhm.
change the headline. I don't change the creative itself. I don't change the thumbnail.
But are they proven ad headlines and hooks?
Yes, because like for example, I have my number 9 ad copy has been selling all over my campaign every $20. So in my ad copies, I mean in my headline test or any other test, I only use an ad copy number 9. I don't.
Okay, that's good.
Or
Perfect.
let's say I have number 5 and number 3 of the headlines that is working very nice, but I only use number 5 headline in my all other tests rather than
Perfect.
when I am trying headline.
That's perfect.
So I am using one ad creative inside one ad set. I'm just not doing the pocket theory, but instead of the pocket theory, I use only one by one because I would like to try one thing at a time. That's also why I
that makes sense.
it like 8 times.
Yeah. I would say let's focus first on that kill point of the definition of a winning ad and getting let's get 10 conversions on those ads in your creative testing first before we scale them. Let's start with that. Just like you said, let's focus on one thing first, and then we can sort of start going into some of the other areas. But yeah, definitely follow up with us on Slack on that, or feel free to share a Loom video in the Loom channel as well.
And thanks very much for creating this mastermind for us. I really liked it. And
you're welcome, man. Happy to have you happy for sure. Brilliant. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much. Does anybody else have anything they want to chat about real quick before we wrap up?
I got a quick one unless you need to bounce.
Yeah, no, you're good. I'm good for like 4 more minutes.
Cool. So yeah, I decided I'm gonna start a new account for safety purposes, and I'm gonna use all your strategies, just follow your course like exactly and do it like that. For my existing account, I'm at about a 2.3 ROAS on average. On one of my CBOs, it's at 250 per day. And my question is, I want to scale that, but I want to move into the other account to do all the radical testing and all that. Do you stick to a hard like 20% every 3 days kind of rule, or are you comfortable with just like doubling the budget on a winning proven 2.3 ROAS? It's been running for like 6 months at 250 a day.
Great question. Very specific, like SOP question. So I love it. 2 things that I would do. And we do this in every scenario. Yes, on the 20% hard fast rule every time, 20 to 25%. The second part is, if you want to scale more quickly, always dupe it. So I would dupe it from 250 to say 350 or 400, and also increase that budget from whatever 20% of 250 is. What is that like? For like $50, right? So I'd increase that about $50. So that way, because what's important to remember, the learning is preserved on the legacy ad set, right? That's your 250 CBO campaign thing. Like that campaign is already exited learning. It is already sort of efficient and optimized, etc. So increasing that budget there, no problem at all. Secondly, if you want to scale faster, like this is why we use the duping at higher budgets with 50 conversions times CPA divided by 7. So that way we can exit learning faster, get into a status of active faster, and spend more quickly, get the learnings more quickly, etc. So I would always just duplicate so that also you can compare because you might find, oh, you might actually get better results with the dupe at 350 than you are at 250. And it's because of pocket theory, right? So like Facebook will find different pockets of these audiences that you guys are targeting, which is why we use it on the ad level as well. And so like what you also don't want to do is cannibalize that something's working. So that's why we want to dupe it at a higher budget as well. Because if you double that budget and then it goes crazy, it's going to actually throw it back into learning. Like
yeah, that makes sense.
Optimize the shit out of that campaign. You don't want it to go back into learning.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Have you ever seen when you dupe it? I have tried it before, and CPMs on both the campaigns doubled. Is that common? Is that just me?
Yeah, I mean, it usually takes a CBO at higher budgets about 3 days to stabilize. So like usually day one performance won't be that great. Day two, you'll start picking up more conversions closer to like what you're used to. Day three, it might still be a little bit sporadic, but in that day 4 to 7 range, that's when you'll kind of see it go like this and then stabilize.
Okay.
So you're going to see some higher CPMs, you're going to see some higher CPAs. That's because it's learning, right? Like it has to go through that learning period, which is why CBO scaling is the third strategy that we prioritize, because at higher spends, it's the most volatile, right? It requires more budget. It is more risky. The more go-to strategy is single ad scaling, which you guys kind of saw it in my dashboard, ad 1094, for example. So that ad gets validated in phase 2, like Zemba was saying, ad gets 10 conversions. I think that account, we usually run phase 2 tests anywhere from 50 to 100 a day. So that could get duped from 100 to say 200 or 300 in phase 4, and they're all just ABO budgets and you're scaling those winning ads. Like that is the least risky because it doesn't require as many ads and as many ad sets to fire a high daily budget when the performance is going to be sporadic, where Facebook's trying to figure out like which piece of this setup was actually the best one. And then it's going to start shifting the budget towards it, right? Like that's the downside with CBO, is I would always recommend a single ad scaling strategy first, because you get one winning ad, then you can carry that winning ad back into phase 2, keep repeating that process, keep duping them back into phase 4, scale, right? Like, and then, then you're like, okay, I got this process down. Let me try something a little bit more aggressive. Then I can go CBO scales on campaigns from like 500 to 1,000 a day. Eli, who was actually on our call earlier, they run a $20,000 a day CBO with manual bidding cost caps at the ad set level, but obviously that campaign doesn't spend the 20 grand a day because it's using manual bidding. But like, you've got to feel pretty damn good, like, because 5 hours of that going wrong, like for most people is not a good thing, right? So yeah, that's what I would suggest.
Cool.
Anything more that you have on that at all?
No, that's it for now. I'll probably send you a loom later this week.
Sweet, perfect. And then Zemba had one more question. Do you guys do surfing hyperscale at a given day? To be honest, no. There is one account that we run that way because it is a little bit of an affiliate style strategy. And we do a little bit of surfing where we will like run like multiple dupes at multiple ad set budgets and kill early. I'm more of an advocate of an evergreen strategy. So that way you guys don't have to like literally hawk your ad account like a day trader. You know, it's just gonna surfing. Yeah, you get it. Surfing and hyper scaling like that forces you to be a day trader, and you don't want to be chasing, especially when you take into account delayed attribution, misattribution, all these things. Like you could actually be making day of decisions based on incorrect information. So I've personally never run ads that way. I know there's a bunch of guys who, you know, I think it was it Tim Bird who actually came up with the surfing method? I think it's Tim Bird, which he heads up our mastermind group. But and they've got like the bully method and stuff like that, like which I've tested and tried, and it's difficult to get it to work. But this is like an evergreen strategy that you guys are implementing here, so that it's more hands off and like easier to manage. Like I'm an advocate of easy and not like micromanaging. Like nobody wants to micromanage this. Like it'll drive you crazy and you'll make reactive decisions. So alrighty guys, Zemba, I'll answer that for you in Slack. Appreciate you all. Great to have you here, and the recording will get uploaded into your portal under the recordings channel. So if there's anything you guys want to come back to, you can check that out there as well. I'll catch you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
See ya.